Raw review for the September 15th episode of Raw. I'm Will, that's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling podcast. As always, cheers, talk about some wrestling now.
Yeah, it's the go-home show for WrestlePalooza. So would we get any more matches? What's the build-up look like? WrestlePalooza is basically a Raw-specific PLE at this point.
Yeah.
You only got one match from SmackDown, so what would you get here?
Fun episode of Raw. Thank you guys for stopping by the live stream, youtube.com/CODWrestlePod, where we will be doing live streams for SmackDown and WrestlePalooza. So go ahead and be there. But for this Raw, we started in the garage where the Usos together are making their entrance, and LA Knight's pissed about Jey Uso spearing him last week, so he confronts him in the garage. Adam Pearce just so happens to be there, splits him up, sets up our storyline for the entire night. But that's when John Cena makes his entrance, his last entrance ever in Massachusetts. We're in Springfield, Massachusetts tonight, and he reminds everybody there that he used to play college football right down the street at Springfield College, where he was on the O-line, which is pretty tough life being an O-line guy, but it prepared him for life in the WWE. He said his family and his friends were there. And then he starts to talk about WrestlePalooza, and he says there's a very tall hill to climb there, right? And he said that Brock wants to end the last real champion. So John Cena's taken this last real champion to heart, more than just a title. He wants to be the last real champion of WWE, right? Just in terms of his character and overall just good person that he is. He says that Brock is basically invincible though, and he's made a target out of Cena, and he always beats the hell out of Cena when they fight. So like, why would he say yes to this fight? Because he's only got 6 appearances left. He could easily just say, nah, bro, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sacrifice my body. But he said yes because he is the last real champion, and he fights his battles in the ring, not backstage. He says is the last real champion scared of Brock Lesnar? Yep. But will he give up? Hell no. And I say it that way because John Cena said it that way. He said, hell no. He said he founded Suplex City, and then he ended with a fantastic line where he said, my jorts are stronger than your jeans. If you want some, come get some. This is great. I'm popping it, man.
Yeah, I'm going to pop it as well. Shout out to the guy that had that sign.
Yeah.
If that guy doesn't have that sign, Cena probably doesn't think of that. That's a great sign, great line. This did what it needed to do, really, I guess. It's nice to see, like, John Cena basically, I guess, providing his side of the story here and letting you know that, yeah, he is a little bit afraid of Brock. I mean, who really wouldn't be afraid of Brock at this point, right? He does also remind you, hey, my appearances are dwindling down. It's nice to see this is the last one here in Massachusetts. It's a sight to see. He's kind of trying to fight back tears a little bit in the beginning, at least. All around good stuff. I don't think anything that him or Brock do is really going to excite me for the match in terms of like, hey, yeah, I'm more excited now. But it's nice to at least get John's side of the story here.
Yeah, this is John's desperate attempt to try to sell us on another Brock Lesnar John Cena match with 6 appearances left for John Cena. It definitely didn't sway my opinion on it. Still don't think we need it. We're getting it. It's going to be fun. I'm just looking forward to seeing John Cena again. Hopefully we get more of the Super Cena stuff, and it's not just a Brock fest where we just get Brock beating him down the entire time. But odds are that's probably going to happen. Either way, though, John Cena, anytime he makes an appearance now, I'm just going to love it every single second of it. He drops a good line like that at the end, thanks to that guy's sign. So it was memorable. I'm happy. We'll move on from it, right? We would go back, and Adam Pearce is talking to Jey Uso and LA Knight, or Jimmy Uso and LA Knight, right? Or I don't know. Is it Jay and LA? It's one of them. LA Knight just wants Braun and Bronson Reed. You're right. He just wants Braun and Bronson Reed tonight. And Adam Pearce is like, okay, well, if you want them, who's going to be your partner? And LA Knight's like, well, definitely ain't going to be that guy. How about Big Jim Uso? And Jay's like, oh, hell no, bro. That ain't going to be you. And he's like, well, it's not up to you. I'm going to go talk to Big Jim. And he does go talk to Big Jim in the back. And Jim basically says, look, dude, you put me in a bad position here. I'm in a tough spot. I'm Jay's partner, not your partner. You guys are beefing. I'm probably just going to tell you no. But we'll pick up on that in a minute. Mm-hmm. That's when we get our first match of the night. It was Lyra Valkyria taking on Roxanne Perez. And these two are great. And guess what they did? Put on a great match. Lyra was selling her back because of her match against Raquel last week when she took the Tatana bomb right on her back. Makes sense. She was selling it the entire match here, and Roxanne Perez targets it right away. And Lyra won this match twice tonight. I have to say it because Raquel Rodriguez got involved right in front of the ref, and she grabbed Lyra's boot when she was running off the ropes. And Jessica Carr saw it. She saw it with her own 2 eyes, and instead of disqualifying her, she just kicked her out to the back. So that should have been a win for Lyra right there, just putting it out there. But that did lead to Roxanne getting the best of her for a lot of the match here. There was even a spot where Lyra went up to the top rope, and Rox just pulled her foot from out from underneath it, and Lyra fell like right on her neck. It was absolutely gnarly. But eventually Lyra goes for the Nightwing and gets the win clean over Roxanne Perez, in which was a great match. But of course, Raquel comes back out when Lyra's backing up to the set, and she starts to destroy Miss Lyra Valkyria. I think Roxanne even hits the pop rocks on her, but that's when Bayley's music hits, and Bayley runs out there. She takes out Raquel. She takes out Roxanne with hugger Bayley moves. She's doing Bayley to bellies, and she's doing all of her, she's just doing all of her old hugger stuff.
The taunt.
Yeah, her taunt, where she's the inflatable tube man. She's doing all that. Mm-hmm. And so she clears out Roxanne and Raquel, and then she turns to Lyra, and her face changes. She goes from being happy Bayley to just like pissed off Bayley, but she's not saying anything. And then randomly, she just snaps back into her hugger mode, runs out, hugs Corey Graves and Joe Tessitore and the security guard, and hugs 10 fans on the way out. She just bolts to the back. So Bayley makes her triumphant return. It was both of her gimmicks, though. It was the hugger gimmick and the ding dong hello bad girl gimmick. She did not like Lyra. This was great, though. It's good to see Bayley back, popping all of it.
Yeah, I'm going to pop it as well. Good to see Bayley back. Was interested to see how they would have that play out a little bit. What would that look like? Because you have the vignettes and the backstage stuff that has been pretty good. I've enjoyed that stuff, but how do you get that to translate in the ring? At the end of the day, it all ends up in the ring. So how do you get that character, the split personality, to the ring? I thought this is a step in the right direction. You have her using some of the hugger moves. I think if she does end up having a match with Lyra, maybe she uses more of the role model moves, maybe depending on who she faces determines kind of her moveset. I thought this was a good step in the right direction for her. And obviously, just excited to see her back. So all around good stuff. I am going to pop all that stuff. I am going to give it a drop, though. Jessica Carr. Come on. It's tough. You can't can't blur the lines. You gotta know what a DQ is and what it's not. So I'm going to drop that. But everything else, good stuff.
Amen. I agree with that. Yeah, I'm just very excited about Bayley being back for one, but then I was very worried about what's this going to look like. And in its first implementation onto Raw, loved it. I love the fact that she went full hugger mode, and the second she turned to Lyra, just face completely changed. You can tell Bayley is able to pull this off, which is the important part. The character sounds great on paper, but how is it going to actually look when it's in the ring? From what we got tonight, it looks like Bayley got this down to a T, so I'm very excited for it. And now we can get the Bayley Lyra stuff going again. Happy man.
Yeah, and that combined with the backstage stuff. I don't know if we roll it all in.
Yeah, we can roll back on.
Lyra goes and meets Bayley afterwards and invades the locker room, and
she doesn't knock.
Well, she kind of knocks, but the door kind of just comes open after Bayley is having conversations with herself and just yelling and screaming at herself. There's nobody in there. Lyra had a good look on her face, she's scared and mortified and confused. But Bayley, like you said, can pull it off. So that's the biggest thing that I was I don't know if she can do this. I think she can.
Yeah, there was, like he said, she went in the locker room and they had interaction, and basically it feels like Bayley's screaming at herself when she's by herself, and then what we get so far is that she's a hugger Bayley for everybody else, but Lyra is still a target to her of some sort. So looking forward to what's next there. We would get Io and Steph signing backstage. So they're booked to do their contract signing tonight. We get that backstage, and we were like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing it backstage right now. But then Asuka and Kyrie walk up in the situation. Asuka's basically smack talking in, defense of Io, and Steph gets in her face and is like, you want to do this now? And Asuka's like, you will be facing tonight Kyrie. And Kyrie's like, what? Me? Mm-hmm. So we set up a Steph versus Kyrie same match on Raw. I'm like, okay, we're doing good here. That's when LA does walk up to Big Jim. I already talked about that, so we'll go on to the next. Kofi versus Penta was next. Kofi Kingston versus Penta. The New Day was doing their distraction stuff this match. It's kind of what we'd get with the New Day stuff, right? There was a pretty cool spot when Kofi did an apron frog splash onto the back of Penta, which is pretty nice. The match ends with like when they're going toe to toe, they were like kneeing each other and super kicking each other back and forth. So these guys were doing some good stuff. But Xavier Woods jumps onto the apron, which causes distraction. But Penta's able to kind of push him off. Grayson Waller tries to attack, but Penta sees him coming, super kicks him. Kofi goes for a roll up out of this, and we're like, okay, well he's getting it there. 1, 2, no. Penta gets up, springboards into the Mexican Destroyer, and gets the 1, 2, 3 win over Kofi Kingston. I mean, we've seen this stuff every week, it feels like, so it's not like, oh my God, that's amazing, but I like what we got tonight from just a Penta versus Kofi standpoint. I'll give it the pop.
Yeah, I'll give it a pop, albeit a slight one.
Yeah,
it's not much because, like you said, we kind of see this week and week, and then you know, you look at it later on in the night, they actually attack Penta. So it's like, okay, well, Penta in the ring can destroy all 3 of them, so he doesn't really need any help. But then they do the sneak attack. It is what it is. I'm not really bought in on this stuff, but like you said, a good match between Kofi and Penta, and then a cool Mexican Destroyer move that they're banning. You know,
yeah, 15,000 signatures.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and I'll give it a pop.
Yeah, nothing more to add here. It's just more stuff. I wish Penta was doing bigger and better things, and I kind of wish New Day was doing bigger and better things. But like at the least, when we get matches, they're good, and that's good enough for me sometimes, right? Then we get an interesting backstage segment because Jimmy walks up to Jay, who's on the phone talking to somebody, and Jim's like, "Who dat?" And Jay's like, don't worry about it. We're all good. Assuming it's Roman there.
Yeah, he's like leaving a voicemail, basically saying like, hey, call me back. I got some stuff I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, and Jay says, look, LA Knight is going to come up to you tonight and ask to be your partner, and you have to say no. And Jim's like, what do you mean have to? And Jay's like, look, no matter, it doesn't matter. No one else matters. Just family matters. And Jim's like, first off, he already did come up to me, and I already told him no, but I ain't taking orders from you. In fact, I don't see an Ulafala around your neck. And Jay's like, whoa, hey, I didn't mean it like that. And Jim just kind of backs away and is kind of just mad at his brother for a moment, walks away, and we come back from commercial break. And he walks right up to LA Knight and says, you still need a partner for the night? I'm there. And so Big Jim, hey, he ain't taking that smack from Jay, man. He ain't taking that smack.
No. And it's interesting. Like, we'll obviously get into it later on with the main event with the match and stuff, but like inserting Big Jim into this really just feels like a breath of fresh air, even though there's some elements that are maybe still a little older, like there are a little bit of callbacks and stuff like that. But this is nice. I enjoyed this.
Yeah. Anytime Big Jim gets involved in the Bloodline stuff, it feels like it just takes off. I love it. So Jim and Jay not being on the same page, we'll get to it later, but I was very happy with even this little segment backstage. It got me hyped. Then we get the big one. Seth and Becky come out to the ring to face off with AJ Lee and CM Punk. Seth was going to do his Monday Night Rollins thing, but the crowd pissed him off. And so he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then he introduces Becky by going through all of her accolades, right? Making it a big deal. And Becky takes the mic and says, what, you think I'm going to trash talk like CM Punk behind their backs? No, I'll wait for them to come out to the ring. And that's when they would come out, AJ Lee and CM Punk, just to AJ Lee's music. I should note that because it comes up later, but Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch had 2 entrances. CM Punk and AJ Lee only had 1. They used AJ's entrance. And CM Punk even introduced himself as AJ Lee's husband. And he says, because he doesn't want to waste any time, he's not gonna introduce AJ like Seth just did Becky, because everybody knows who this woman is. And the crowd was very much a part of this segment. Very much a part of it. They were chanting the entire time. But that's when he makes fun of Seth and Becky. He calls them goofs for what they're wearing, and then mentions the fact that they're not on the same page at all. And he even talks about how they came out to 2 separate theme songs last week, or on SmackDown, Seth Rollins or Raw, whichever it was. Seth Rollins is the one who made the match, not Becky Lynch. So they just don't feel like they're on the same page. And they think that they're both too selfish and have their own egos. And that's when Seth gets pissed off and calls Punk selfish for all the reasons that he normally does, right? And he says that AJ Lee, or he is going to give Seth credit for, or Punk credit for one thing, and that's bringing back AJ Lee. But he says it's also a huge mistake putting her, getting her involved in the situation as a whole. AJ does come back and says that she wouldn't be here if Becky wasn't beating up on CM Punk, basically. And that's when kind of Becky takes the mic and kind of cuts down AJ for a minute. She has a good 2 minutes of really doing some good work. She gets real serious and mentions how in AJ Lee's book, she talks about not only her overcoming mental issues, but physical issues. So she says, obviously your head's right, but are you physically okay to even be here? Because I know that neck of yours isn't doing too well over the years. So how are you going to feel, CM Punk, when I'm battering your wife in front of you at WrestlePalooza and you don't know if she can even physically get back up? And that's when AJ kind of says that, look, I don't know if my neck's okay, but I'm also mentally right, but also I'm crazy still, because that's what I am as AJ Lee. That's my gimmicks. She even said sometimes she'll shank a woman, is what she says. She doesn't say woman, though. And she looks Seth directly in the eyes and says, you can't plan for what you can't predict. And that's when Seth takes the mic and basically says, look, I can't predict you, but I can read your husband like a book. And if there's one thing that CM Punk does, it's when the going gets tough and people fail him, he dips. So if you fail him at WrestlePalooza, Miss AJ Lee, what's to say he won't just up and leave you afterward as well? And that's when AJ gets up in Rollins' face, smacks him real good a few times, just like Becky did to CM Punk a few weeks ago. And that's when Rollins goes, you know what? He tries to pull a Punk and he says, I won't hit a woman, but thankfully I have somebody who will. And he turns to Becky and Becky's like, me? Ain't me. And then Seth and Becky get this verbal altercation right in front of everybody. And they're screaming at each other. Becky ends up leaving and walking away. That's when CM Punk takes the opportunity to get in Seth Rollins' face, but Seth Rollins rolls out of the ring and Punk chases him around the ring. But that was all part of the plan of the vision, because while Punk is chasing Rollins, Becky sneaks back into the ring and hits AJ Lee with a manhandle slam. That leaves Punk pissed off in the ring. Becky smacks him too, leaves, and Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are laughing home. So Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch get the best of AJ Lee and CM Punk on the last stop to WrestlePalooza, and I loved it. I'm popping it.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop it as well. I think it went on maybe about 5 minutes too long. Maybe it was very long.
Very long.
They all had some good things to say. Like I thought each person had good points to make in this, but that's kind of the tough thing when there are 4 people like that. You have to give them all time. So it's like, how do we do this, but have it flow cohesively and not be super long? So it was good stuff though. I think I think Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch maybe played their cards a little too early. I think that this really just kind of shows they're like, oh, well, you think we're not on the same page. Well, we are on the same page. Maybe they should have said that for WrestlePalooza, because now you're like, okay, well, if they're on the same page, that just means CM Punk and AJ Lee are going to have to be even stronger together. I'm sure that they will. I think there is some truth to what Punk is saying. I think the egos do come into play. I think they aren't really as truly on the same page as they say that they are. I think Punk and AJ Lee had a really good, promo tonight, pointing out things of, hey, well, the theme songs, there's this, there's that, and the other stuff. So it was good stuff, but a little bit too long.
I needed this personally, this promo segment, because as interested and as bought in as I am to the match already, right? On paper, it was like a no-brainer situation. It's definitely AJ Lee and CM Punk winning, and there are 100 reasons why, right? So I just wanted story-wise for them to give us something to where if we wanted to point to it as to why could you doubt AJ Lee and CM Punk? It's like, okay, we can point to this tonight and go, they were able to outsmart AJ Lee and CM Punk tonight, right? So they're still going to win at WrestlePalooza, but now just wrestling story-wise, we're in a better situation going into the match. It feels more well-rounded. So I'm just happy for all of it tonight. And AJ Lee took a bump, and she looked real good doing it, selling it. So I'm ready for the match, basically. That's about it. We'll move on, though. That's when we get Dragon Lee taking on El Grande Americano in a match. This was real good, man. Dragon Lee, I feel like we say this every time Dragon Lee fights. I mean, he's just fantastic in the ring. El Grande is absolutely no slouch either. He was hitting cutters, sentons, but Dragon Lee hit this Hurricane Rana off the apron that left Dragon Lee on the announce table. And then Dragon Lee did a suicide dive through the second rope onto El Grande, onto the announce table. So these two were just casually putting on a banger here. But that's when, later on in the match, Dragon Lee, the good guy, is trying to rip off El Grande's mask. The disrespect. He's supposed to be the good guy. But that's when another Americano would show up, another Grande. And of course, that means that Dragon Lee has to focus on him, right? That's when El Grande hits his finisher. So the distraction into the finisher, but we get the 1-2, ooh. Dragon Lee kicks out, and we're like, okay, what the hell's happening here? That's when you get AJ Styles. AJ Styles runs out to the ring and starts to chase the second El Grande under the ring, because he ran under the ring. And freaking Joe Tessitore told on the second El Grande, and he's like, AJ, he went under the ring. And Corey Graves is like, you tattletale, what are you doing here? But anyway, he's able to eventually catch the second El Grande and beat him over the barricade. But then there's a third El Grande Americano. when he's able to take out AJ Styles, and that gives El Grande in the ring a moment to lock in a submission on Dragon Lee, who ends up tapping. So AJ Styles once again just gets beaten up, the Grandes get the best of AJ Styles once again. I'm going to pop it and I'm going to drop it. I think that the match is fun and all this stuff is fun, but we are definitely at the point where it feels like we are really not doing meaningful stuff with AJ Styles. So I'm dropping that.
Yeah, it's fun and everything. And like you said, it's nice to see Dragon Lee and El Grande get some match time, and that's all great to see. The multiple El Grandes is always, fun. I don't know how anybody could really dislike that stuff, but yeah, AJ Styles going from a spot where it's like, okay, maybe him and Dom are on WrestlePalooza, or like maybe he takes that title off of Dom, and then it's like, oh no, he's just going to be in the El Grande vortex forever. It's like, okay, I know AJ Styles doesn't have a ton of time left. I'd rather him be doing something a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty disappointed in this AJ Styles run right now. Again, it's a lot of fun when you're watching it. It's like, oh my God, the El Grande craziness, and AJ Styles is running out and stuff. But then it's like, okay, like you just said, how much time do we have with this guy who changed the game? I mean, he's one of the best professional wrestlers in history, and we're throwing El Grande Americanos at him, and he's just laying down on the ground as another El Grande gets the win over a Dragon Lee in the ring. It just feels like we're doing nothing of meaning with him. I was really hoping we'd circle back to the Dom thing, which I guess we're not doing because of Rusev now. So it does feel like right now we're wasting AJ Styles away, man. We need better for him, for sure.
Maybe he just ends up going to SmackDown, I would like to see AJ Styles back on SmackDown before it's all said and done.
Face that runs the place, man. Face that runs the place. We would get Judgment Day celebrating backstage. Speaking of the Rusev thing, they were celebrating the Mega Intercontinental Campeon double champion Dirty Dom. So they're pouring champagne for everybody, and Finn was not very happy about it. But they toast, and then Finn's like, why are we celebrating? Like, sure, Dom, you did your job, but like Roxanne lost tonight. That's not a very good thing. And everybody's like, no, we're cool. And then Finn's like, no. And what about this Grande thing that keeps happening with you, Dom? What do they want? And then JD kind of calms Finn down. He asks Dom, he's like, okay, so what are they going to want in return? And Dom kind of just is like, let me do my thing. Like, let me do what I'm doing, guys. And Finn is like, okay, you going to talk to me like that? If you ever need help again, don't ask for us. You can keep up doing your El Grande thing. And that's when Finn and JD kind of disperse, and Dom's sitting there talking to Raquel and Roxanne. It's like, oh, we're going to be fine. It'll blow over. But then Rusev walks up to him and it says that he's the next challenger for the Intercontinental Championship. Looks like Rusev is up next for Dom Mysterio for the IC title. How are we feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm not really excited about that. You have Rusev, who had a feud with Sheamus that admittedly I wasn't really bought into, and you're like, okay, now he just jumps ahead, and now he's fighting Dom for the IC title. I guess the one positive I will say is if they really want to turn Dom face, which seems to be the case because of all the cheers he's getting, this is kind of a way to do that. You put him up against somebody who people don't like, who's the heel, right? And people can kind of cheer Dom, and we can have that slow kind of turn, kind of sped up a little bit faster. But I think there's still better ways to do that than a Rusev. But I see what they're going for here. It's still not really going to resonate with me. I don't know if the matches are even going to be good. I'm not even bought into the idea of it. So I'm kind of out on all of it.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. Honestly, I don't. There's two reasons why. It's like it feels like we're this close to the Finn Balor turn, because obviously Dom is pissing off Finn Balor when it comes to using the Grandes as his main source of help in all of his matches. And then two, I was really expecting us to circle around to AJ Styles. So in my head, it was like Finn Balor or AJ Styles are probably up next for Dom here. And then Rusev walks in and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm interested in that at all. Like you kind of need a guy who can do a bunch of talking when you fight against Dom. And I don't know if Rusev can do that. It's just one of those things where I haven't been bought in on Rusev since his return. I absolutely love Dirty Dom, so I wanted to see something big for his double title run. I'll give it a chance, but at the moment, I'm kind of out on it for sure. We do move on, though. Stephanie Vicaire gets to take on Kairi Sane. These two are great. And guess what they did? They had a great match, because that's what they do, man. It's absolutely awesome. Rhea did stop Stephanie Vicaire before the match started. She said, doesn't matter if you win or Io wins at WrestlePalooza, I got next. So Rhea's maybe tagging back into the main title scene here in a minute. But this match was absolutely great. Kairi would go for a handshake early on because she respects Stephanie Vicaire, obviously. And Asuka was pissed. Asuka did not like that at all. She was very, very, very mad. Stephanie Vaquer throughout the match did her thing, and so did Kairi. I mean, Steph went up to the top rope at one point, did a suicide dive that took out both Kairi Sane and Asuka, and then she took Kairi Sane, threw her in the ring, hit the Devil's Kiss, hit her finisher, got the 1, 2, 3, but the good stuff happened afterward because Asuka was pissed off and got onto the ring apron when Io Sky runs out there and stands in between them. So she's got her good old buddy Asuka on one side and her opponent this weekend on the other side. And Asuka and her are screaming at each other in their language. I can't understand it, but they're getting in each other's face. And eventually Asuka does back off. Io Sky turns around, gives Stephanie a good old handshake, and we were off to the races. But we come back from break, and the Asuka stuff is still continuing in the back because her and Io are screaming at each other again, mostly in their language. But the one time that she does speak English, Io says that she can do this alone at WrestlePalooza. So Stephanie Vaquer and Kairi Sane put on a great match, but at the end of the day, more Asuka heel turn hints and nuggets, man. I love it. Popping it.
Yeah, I'm going to pop it as well. It's nice to see Stephanie back in the ring again.
Yeah.
Nice to see her on TV again. And then she's going to be on TV for NXT. So that'll be nice as well. The match was good. Nothing to really like write home about. It's a pretty solid match from two women that can go any day of the week. The Asuka stuff was good. The Kairi Sane stuff I thought was really good too. Like her hugging and trying to like almost drag Asuka away is because she can tell that her and Io are going to go at it. Kairi falling down to a knee and like getting yelled at, and she's just like struggling to walk. Like that stuff's great. That stuff's, fantastic stuff. So yeah, all signs are really pointing to Asuka making some sort of appearance at WrestlePalooza to maybe cost Io Sky. Maybe a Rhea Ripley's hanging out, and maybe she doesn't want that to happen. Who really knows? Maybe there's some developments with the Rhea and Stephanie tag team, on NXT that maybe kind of helps, maybe she'll be in the corner or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, please check out our WrestlePalooza predictions podcast on YouTube and podcast wherever you want to get it, because we made our predictions and said that Io Sky, we both said Io Sky was going to win this week. This episode did a great job at making me start to think otherwise, right? And that's the job of Raw before WrestlePalooza, is to make you think, oh, I don't know who's going to win. Did the job tonight because you do feel like Asuka is going to get involved in this match and probably cost Io. But at the same time, we have all the opinions that we had about Stephanie Vaquer. They still remain in terms of like this is the first time that we've seen her on a Raw in the ring for a very long time. So it feels like that'd just be handing someone the belt after a long time being off. So at the end of the day, I thought this Raw segment overall, the match and the segment afterward, just made a bunch of question marks go off in my head for what's happening Saturday. And that's exactly the job. So I'm happy for it, man.
Yeah, if they can murky the water a little bit, you don't want it to be super predictable. So good job.
Then we would get Big Jim teaming with LA Knight, to take on Braun and Bronson Reed in the main event. You know that, guys? The Braun and Bronson were in the main event of Raw. That marks 8 months in a row. I'm joking with. I love Braun Breaker. I love Bronson Reed. But we are getting a lot of vision in the main event scenes. And so the matches do kind of blend together. The difference here is that LA Knight, Big Jim, great tag team. No friction at all, right? Absolutely none. They were doing some absolutely great stuff. And at the end of it, we get Big Jim with a big spear to Bronson Reed. And when he went up to the top rope to hit his splash, Braun Breaker takes out LA Knight on the outside and then just starts going crazy, shoves Big Jim's foot so that he slips on the top turnbuckle. And that's when Bronson Reed would walk over there and hit him with the Jagged Edge, his new finisher, because I guess they're going to protect the Tsunami. That's more of like a kill move for Bronson Reed, which I love that. Gets the pin over Big Jim, 1, 2, 3. But of course, Braun and Bronson, they don't just beat you. They destroy you. So after the match, they went to attack Big Jim, and they hit him with a good old spear. But before the Tsunami could hit, Big Jey Uso would run out there with his chair, and he'd smack Braun Breaker with it, and then he'd smack Bronson Reed like 3 times with it. I mean, he was sending those in the back, man. Big old bops back to right in the back. And Jay would go over, help Big Jim, so there's no animosity there, I guess. But LA Knight picks up the chair behind Jay, and Jay slowly turns, and they have this moment of like, please don't hit me, man. We're good, Oos. You tagged with my brother here. I think we may be good. And LA Knight's able to drop the chair. Jay offers a hand here, shake the hand. And LA Knight does shake his hand, and it looks like we're good, but Jey Uso turns around to help Big Jim up, and that's when LA Knight goes, nah, and gives a good old BFT to Jey Uso to end the night. So LA Knight hits the BFT on Jey Uso when he tagged with Big Jim to end the night. So it was really good stuff. I'm popping it.
Yeah, I'm going to pop it as well. As for the match, you've seen a Vision tag match at this point. You've seen them all, I guess, is kind of the thought process, right? Not really bought in so much to like the in-ring stuff, which I think maybe some variety. Maybe you move the match into a different spot in the night, and maybe I'm a little bit more invested, a little bit more bought in, because the main event stuff, I'm kind of like, okay, I know there's shenanigans or something happening after. I don't really need to pay attention to the match. I just have to get through the match and get the good stuff after, which is what we got here. LA Knight continuing to be, at odds with Jey Uso, is going to probably come into play at WrestlePalooza. It's going to be really good stuff. It was interesting to see Jimmy kind of go out on his own and, defy Jey basically and say like, hey, I'm not doing that. But then they kind of make up, but then, that's not for nothing. Big Jim has some words to him about the Ulafala and things like that. So the seeds are really getting planted here for Jimmy and Jey to kind of bump heads a little bit. You got LA Knight hanging out in the background too. Does he have some sort of run out? Do we continue that after WrestlePalooza? All good stuff here. This is, probably the best case scenario for Jey Uso, I would say. Like, I wasn't really bought into this. Just thought, I'm going to come out, I'm going to yeet, I deserve a world title shot, I should be champ, that sort of thing. This is probably the most interested I've been in Jey Uso since he lost that title. And I'm like, okay, that's what I want to see. So props to him, props to LA Knight, props to Big Jim for kind of bringing me back into them.
Yeah, that's the biggest takeaway for me on this whole storyline. It's not about the Vision right now for me, and it's not about the Usos getting back together or the WrestlePalooza match or even where we go with LA Knight versus Jey Uso. This is where Jey thrives. This is so much better than just sending him out there and yeeting every week, man. When he's a part of the bloodline stuff or, whatever he gets confused with his bloodline-ness, I guess is what I'm going to say, is when he does really, really good work, and especially bringing in Big Jim. And now we have this, is Jey just trying to become the tribal chief character? Like, that's a really cool story to go with here. And now he comes in, he makes sure Big Jim's okay, and he even offers the hand to LA Knight because I guess LA Knight had his brother's back at some point in the night. I really don't know about that. But then he gets hit with the BFT. So it's like you have so many routes here. You have the Vision around Jey. You have like him and Jimmy good because he's acting like the tribal chief, but you also have LA Knight versus Jey Uso. So he's got so much good stuff that has no yeeting about it. I'm very happy for where we're going with this with Jey Uso.
Well, yeah, and now that you talk about the tribal chief thing, like he also did try to come out to save Roman Reigns at Clash, so like that was there as well. So just a lot of intrigue around Jey Uso, and it's so much better than just the Yeet mascot stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm going to say is that I'm with you. We need to switch up Division being in the main event every single week. We love Bronson Reed. We love Braun Breaker, but like you see this once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, they do just kind of mold. If you've watched our last reviews, we don't even cover the actual like in-ring stuff that happens in the match because you've seen it once, you see it all the time. So please switch that up, WWE, okay? But decent episode of Raw. We give it 13 pops to 5 drops. I give it like a C+, B- episode. I'm ready for WrestlePalooza. This is going to be real good, man.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily move the needle for me on anything that, I was already excited for the match I was going to be excited for. It didn't move some one way or the other for me. It's like, okay, Go Home Show was solid, nothing crazy. But now WrestlePalooza is almost here.
WrestlePalooza is almost here, and you should come watch it with us on our YouTube. YouTube.com/COD WrestlePod will be live for SmackDown and WrestlePalooza, so come please join us. It'll be a lot of fun. And then for everything else, it's at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod. We have a link tree in our bio. It takes you to all of our social links, so go ahead and follow that. Subscribe to it. We would really appreciate and love you for it. But I'm Will. That's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time.